1800 hours Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Prime Minister, virtually addressing the 10th D8 summit today, proposed a five-pronged roadmap to realize the vision of D8 countries to recover robustly from economic and health crises due to COVID-19 pandemic. Imran Khan performed the groundbreaking of Farash Town apartments in Islamabad today under the Naya Pakistan housing program. The Foreign Minister has appreciated the support of the United Nations Development Programme in developmental projects in Pakistan and achieving Sustainable Development Goals 2030. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference has strongly condemned the nefarious designs of the Modi-led fascist government to destroy cultural, social, demographic and economic fabric of the territory. The G20 nations have agreed on extension of debt service suspension initiative by 6 months till the end of December this year to help the poorest countries combat COVID-19 pandemic. In Myanmar, 11 more people were killed when troops opened fire on protesters during the anti-coup demonstrations, taking the tally to nearly 600 since the military junta seized power. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan has proposed a five-pronged roadmap to realize the vision of D8 member countries, which include mobilizing financial resources to recover robustly from the economic and health crises incurred by COVID-19 pandemic. Addressing the 10th D8 virtual summit today, he invited the D8 leaders to consider his five-point plan and join advocacy for COVID-19 related relief measures to deal with the unique economic and financial challenges faced by the developing countries due to the pandemic. Imran Khan proposed taking concrete actions to achieve target of expanding inter-D8 trade from the currently around $100 billion to $500 billion by 2030. He said it should include measures like simplification of border procedures, enhancing institutional linkages, and operationalizing new initiatives. Imran Khan said Pakistan welcomes ideas like the D8 payment card, which would enable transactions in local currencies. The Prime Minister said D8 countries should develop a youth engagement strategy focused on promoting cultural, educational, scientific and business exchanges. He said linkages should be established between educational institutions for scholarships, skills development, trainings, fellowships, joint research and exchange program for the youth, particularly in the field of science, technology and innovation. Prime Minister Imran Khan performed the groundbreaking of Farash Town apartments in Islamabad today under the Naya Pakistan housing program. Later addressing the ceremony, the Prime Minister said the project envisaging construction of flats is aimed at providing shelter to the underprivileged segments of the society, including workers and labourers. The Prime Minister said he will also soon perform the groundbreaking of peri-urban housing society for farmers. The Prime Minister said a plan has been prepared to convert the slums and equip them with modern facilities including sanitation and sewerage. He said the slums dwellers will be given houses on proprietary rights. Imran Khan said mortgage facility has been introduced to provide loans to the people on easy installments so that they could have their own houses. He said negotiations are continuing with the banks to remove any impediments in this regard. The Prime Minister regretted that the economy was mismanaged in the past and such loans were taken which, instead of wealth creation, further increased the burden of loans. The Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has appreciated the role and support of the United Nations Development Programme and developmental projects in Pakistan and achieving sustainable development goals. He was talking to the Assistant Secretary General and the Director of UNDP's Regional Bureau for Asia Pacific, Kani Vignaraja, virtually today. Issues of mutual interest, including the ongoing UNDP projects in Pakistan, were discussed during the meeting. The foreign minister on the occasion said Pakistan is promoting economic diplomacy effectively and change its geopolitical priorities to geo-economic goals. He said achieving sustainable development goals and reduction of poverty ratio are included in the priorities of our government. He expressed the hope that UNDP will expand its scope of projects to backward and rural areas of Pakistan. Kani Vignaraja, on the occasion, assured that the United Nations Development Programme will continue its support for the development of Pakistan. The Minister for Railways, Azam Khan Swati, has said there is huge potential in Pakistan Railways and the department can play a key role in strengthening the economy of the country. While chairing a departmental meeting in Karachi today, he said efforts are being made to make the Pakistan Railways a paperless ministry. He directed officers to focus on increasing the revenue generation of the department. Azam Khan Swati ordered outsourcing the freight wagons to private companies. This is Radio Pakistan. The Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Social Protection and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Sania Nishtar, unveiled the new SR standards for private sector orphanages in a special virtual launching event today. This is the first time, not just in Pakistan but also across the Muslim world, that such a historic initiative has been taken by the government for the welfare of orphans and deserving children. Dr. Sania Nishtar lauded the expert committee for their stellar work on the formulation of Asas orphanage standards and emphasized on the widespread implementation in the country. The Minister for Kashmir Affairs in Gilgit-Baltistan, Ali Amin Gandapur, says steps are being taken to give provisional status to Gilgit-Baltistan. He said this while chairing the first meeting of the committee regarding giving provisional provincial status to Gilgit-Baltistan in Islamabad today. During the meeting, different models came under discussion with regard to giving provisional provincial status to the area. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference has strongly condemned the nefarious designs of the Modi-led fascist Indian government to destroy cultural, social, educational, demographic and economic fabric of the territory. In a statement issued in Srinagar, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference spokesman expressed deep concern over the harassment and ill treatment meted out to the Kashmiri students at the Atari border and Delhi airport by the Indian authorities. Meanwhile, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference, during a meeting of its Majlis-e-Shura in Srinagar, condemned the genocide of Kashmiris by the occupational troops. In India, major parties have criticized the Election Commission for siding with the fascist ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and behaving like its ally by following its dictates. Reports say the Election Commission issued notice to the Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamta Banerjee, who had appealed to the Muslim voters to unite against the ruling BJP and not let their vote be split. The Election Commission issued a notice to her after the ruling BJP asked it to take stern action against Mamta Banerjee. Earlier, Aam Aadmi Party also condemned the Election Commission of siding with the Bharatiya Janata Party and not functioning like an independent body. New Zealand has banned entry for all travellers from India, including its own citizens, following a high number of positive coronavirus cases in the country. India has recorded 12.8 million COVID-19 cases, the most after the United States and Brazil. Meanwhile, broad coalition of the Indian American activists and United States based civil rights organizations has called on the United States to probe how Hindu right wing groups received hundreds of thousands of dollars in federal COVID 19 relief funds. Hindu groups that receive the funds have existential links with the Rashtriya Savayam Sevak Sangh, the ideological parent of Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party. The G20 group of nations has agreed on a final extension of the debt service suspension initiative by 6 months till the end of December this year in order to help the poorest country to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. This was announced in a communique after the virtual meeting of G20 finance ministers and central bank governors with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. The extension will allow beneficiary countries to mobilize more resources to face the challenges of the crisis due to coronavirus pandemic. In Myanmar, 11 people were killed and 20 wounded when troops opened fire on protesters during the anti-coup demonstrations in the town of Taze. The death toll of civilians has now reached over 600 since the military junta seized power from the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi on 1st of February. Meanwhile, the military junta's leader, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, said the civil disobedience movement has halted the working of hospitals, schools, roads, offices and factories. And finally, the weather. Mainly hot and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk. And you can also watch the live video streaming of our bulletins on the link, facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.